The following audio, brought to you by TSF Entertainment Podcast, may contain graphic descriptions of violence and/or audio clips of violence or sexual explicit events. Listener's discretion is advised.
What's up, TSF Entertainment Podcast fans? This is your boy RETROCG, and I'm joined tonight by my beautiful co-host, Miss REALLYBTV in the house.
Hey.
We running short today. We had some people call off sick today, so we running short today. We had some no calls, no shows.
That's what, no calls, no shows. You know how that goes.
So tonight we're going to go ahead and give you our recap of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, episode 1, back in the day. So I think this is like a pilot episode. At least that's the way I take it. It feels
it's
like
definitely a pilot. It's definitely an origin story.
Episode.
Yeah.
So we are now introduced to the Power Universe. Ooh. I guess the Power Universe is replacing Marvel. It's the new Marvel, I guess. You know, because they even had the little Marvel starts all their movies off with the little intro.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that's what they were trying to do with their intro with the new Power Universe. So this is the third installment of Power, which is a spinoff. This is a spinoff series, Raising Kanan. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Power, I don't think that you would be here listening to our podcast if you weren't familiar with the show. But
right.
This series is based off of the character Kanan Stark. So, Really, B, what was your first thoughts of the episode? What you think about it?
So my first overall thought of the episode in its totality was I was mad at Kanan, but I wasn't mad at the episode, if that makes sense. I was mad at Kanan because I was like, that's just stupid.
Oh, what you got?
No, I'm just saying.
But I know exactly where you're getting ready to go because I feel the same thing. But overall, you like the episode, is what you're saying.
It definitely read as a pilot because think about it. That episode, they actually could have just inserted that episode at any point to give us a background on who Kanan was. Like
that could have been a flashback episode. It could have been a flashback. Yeah,
it could have. Right, it could have absolutely just been a standalone flashback. Because even the way 50 Cent started the narration off by saying, "Well, you know how my last fight ended, but let me tell you how my first fight started."
So let's start right there. Where in life is he narrating this story? Is it in the afterlife?
I guess.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, okay, but I can appreciate the narration, but only for this episode. I do not wish for the future episodes to continue with his narration.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessary because in this point, the narration was necessary because we had a lot of characters that we needed to be introduced to that we hadn't seen before in other series. Mm-hmm. So I think the narration was definitely pivotal to us being introduced to new characters. So rate the show. What would you give it?
Out of a 10, I'd probably give it an 8.
I'm going to give it a 9.
Oh, wait a minute. I graded on a higher curve than you? Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yes, indeed. And you'll learn why as we start breaking down this episode.
Okay.
Well, first off, I am very, very pleased with how the episode turned out. It definitely gave me that 19
It did.
85, 1990s feel.
It
even
did.
from the way they dress, the way New York is being portrayed. It was very authentic.
It
I
did.
really enjoyed that.
Even when you can look at some of the stuff and be like, I remember that outfit. I remember that piece. I remember, oh, I had that. You know what I'm saying? Like, even when you can look at stuff and it takes you back to that place because you were there, you lived through it. It
Yes,
absolutely rings authentic. Because I
it's a
swear, half them clothes that Jukebox wore, I was like, I had that shirt. Because she had polo on the whole episode. The whole episode, Jukebox had on polo.
She did. You recognize it too.
I
I
did.
was going to wonder. I was wondering if you was going.
I said it in my review. My review is actually loading right now. I said it in my review.
Here, the polo crew. We're gonna spot that polo when we see it.
Exactly. And I've been wearing polo since high school, so I definitely recognize. Like, oh, I had that. I remember when that happened. That's when polo first started doing the teddy bears.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yep.
go ahead.
It
We can talk
sure
about
is.
polo. We can get sidetracked with the polo. Okay.
I know we might just need to do an episode about that for it. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and break this episode down. Instantly, and it didn't take long for us to figure out who was who. Instantly we meet Jukebox and Kanan.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really appreciating the backstory with Jukebox because I would love to see how she turned out the way she did when we first met her in Power Season 3. I think it was episode 3 that we first met her. Of course, she's grown up and made a lot of changes over the years, but it seems almost to me like maybe Jukebox might be older than Kanan. Did you get that impression?
She is older than Kanan. Because when they were at the diner and her dad was like, well, why you not getting into that school? Why nobody ask about you? And she was like, they did. You didn't want me to go. And he was like, all right, well, that's fine. We'll get you to take the test. And she was like, I'm too old now. So that leads me to believe if she's too old, but Kanan isn't, she's got to be older than him.
Yeah, because even in the scenes where they were at school, they weren't in any classes together.
Right.
So I did get that impression that Jukebox is older than Kanan. But the episode starts off with Kanan in the park getting beat down by some kids. And I'm assuming that one of these kids that was beating on Kanan was Buck 20.
You know what? I thought about that too. And I was like, I said it. I was like, I know one of y'all was going to catch whether it was the same name or not. I said the same thing.
I think so, but I'm gonna have to do this one straight off memory. I didn't get a chance to get back and rewatch the episode, but I do plan on rewatching it again tonight. So I'm just going off memory. But I do believe the main character or the main person that was beating on Kanan, the little boy, was Buck 20. But and I'll tell you why I felt like that was him later on down on the episode.
Probably the same point that I felt like it was too, but go ahead.
Okay, so we on point. So Buck 20 and his crew are at the park and they're beating down Kanan. They sticking him up for his money. Right. And Kanan keeps getting up and going back, and obviously the kids are maybe a little older, maybe a little bit stronger, maybe a little bit bigger. I didn't necessarily feel like they were a little bit bigger than him, but they were beating him down. And of course they were restraining Jukebox. They were holding her down from her jumping in and helping out.
Mm-hmm.
And Kanan ends up getting up and runs off, home. And of course, they free Jukebox. She's yelling for him to come back. And we meet his mother, Miss Raquel. I like her. I really like his mom.
I like her too.
Great actress. I'm very pleased with her. And her boyfriend or baby daddy, no, her boyfriend, because it wasn't Kanan's father, it was her boyfriend, High Post.
Right.
So we meet High Post. In the narration, Kanan later tells us that High Post is going to die a year later.
For
snitching, I think that's what I thought it was.
He said
too.
For telling. That's what he said. He said for telling. He didn't say snitching. Not that it makes a difference. It may not be a big deal, but he didn't say snitching.
That's the impression I got too. Okay, so we're on point then. I got the impression that was basically saying he was snitching or had done snitched on someone.
Yeah. Now, this is the first discrepancy that I ran into. Now, tell me if you caught it or whatever. But he said that the boyfriend is the one who got his mom in the game. Didn't
Correct.
he say that?
I was just getting ready to hit that note. But
Okay,
yes,
all right, then
correct.
I'm gonna let you. Okay, then I just want to make sure that I was wondering if you caught what I caught. Okay, go ahead then.
Yes. So they were they were at the kitchen table. Looks like they were breaking down a brick. And so I do believe in Kanan's narration, he did say that High Post, pretty much put his mom onto the game. And so Kanan comes in, young Kanan comes in and runs up the stairs. He's crying in bed. He's beaten and bruised and bloody. And so, High Post looks over at Raquel and like, you want me to go talk to him? And she's like, nah, I'll deal with it. And so she does what any mother does. She goes in, finds out, what the hell going on. And, of course, he tells her that, the kids at the playground or at the park, took me for my money. And she's like, well, I'll tell you about telling people your business and whatever, whatever, whatever. And I missed what his response was to that, but he kind of alluded to the fact that he didn't tell them anything about him having money or whatever. They probably know that, his mom and stuff selling drugs or whatever. He had money.
Right.
And so, she's giving him that every black mom lecture that she gonna give her son that come home with an ass whooping. So she goes over to his dresser and she pull out a pair of socks. She pull out a sock. And she started taking the batteries out of the toys.
She sure did.
I knew exactly where that was going.
I knew exactly right. I was like, I know exactly what she about to do. This about to be ugly. I was like, this is about to be ugly.
She tell him to hop in the car. They head back to the park. And she gets out the car. And she like, go handle your business. And she's like, either deal with them or deal with me. And you ain't got nowhere to run from with me. So, and she stood there. And Kanan went and commenced to whooping their ass with that battery sock.
He sure did.
He beat the shit out of them niggas with them sock.
He did. I mean, he did. It ain't no way around that. He whooped their ass.
And so from there, I think at that point, I think he even said that was the first point where his name was known in the streets.
Yeah. That started that started the, do you know who Kanan is type situation. Yeah.
Right. And she just sitting there smoking her cool.
She sure was smoking her cigarette. Listen, yeah. I said in my review that my grandmother did that to me. So listen, that's that old school. I got into a fight with my next door neighbor, and my grandmother used to live with us, and she would not. I guess listen, I don't even remember the fact that I lost the fight, but she must have felt like I lost the fight. But she told me I better go back over there and whip her ass, and she wouldn't let me in the house. Oh, I was like, I can't come in the house, Grandma. She was like, nope, you better go back over there and you better get her.
That's what Ross said. Ross said you better deal with them or deal with me. So
okay,
those were your only two options. So this is all occurring in 1985. So we're getting a timeline. We're getting the timeline as the show progresses. So now we skip to 1991. I'm assuming they're in high school. Kanan is they're in high school. Kanan and his mom is I didn't get the feeling that it was the principal or the guidance counselor or
it sounded like it was a guidance counselor or something.
Yeah, anyway, she was acknowledging the fact that Kanan was very good in school. Apparently Kanan was a good scholar. He made good grades in school. He was very smart. So she was very interested in him progressing his education. And there was a new school that was getting ready to open up. And I'm assuming that this is busing, that he was getting ready to sign up for this program for underprivileged kids. What was this program? It was an advanced learning program. I didn't really get the feel for what type of program that she was recommending him for.
Well, the way it seemed like to me was that it was a new high school opening up and it was going to be like a magnet school. And so they were probably going through all of the schools in the city and recruiting, quote unquote, the best and brightest.
Got it.
That's what it seemed like to me, that they were trying to populate this new school, this state of the art. They had 5 gymnasiums and all this. It was just like, this. And so it wasn't going to be like a neighborhood school. It was going to be like a, invitation only kind of thing. And what they probably did was they just went through aptitude tests and GPAs.
Got it.
And that's probably where they got his name.
And oddly enough, Kanan's mom is excited about this.
Yeah.
Like, she's really excited about this and excited about this opportunity for him. In this moment, I didn't get to feel that Kanan cared either way. He didn't seem to be too reactive to it. I think he was more so reactive to the fact that his mom was pleased that he was getting the opportunity, but he didn't seem overly excited for the opportunity.
He didn't want to go. He said it as soon as they left out of there. He was like, "Well, I can't stay here." It's like they're leaving and there's literally a fight in the hallway, and she's looking at him like, "What do you mean? Why you can't stay here? Like, do you see what I see?
Do you see what I see? Right? Yeah. Look at this, and what I liked about this, and I was just so hoping that she wasn't going to be this type of mom. She was what I expected her. Her reaction was exactly what I expected her to have, as opposed to, you ain't going to that school with the white folks. I really was glad they didn't make her character like that, where she didn't want him to advance.
Right.
Like Naaman's mom on The Wire. I was so hoping that she wasn't that type of mom. That
Right.
she was more so interested in keeping her son in the game and, her muscle. She actually wanted this opportunity for her son. She was eager for it, for him. And so they're standing out in the hallway and they're kind of talking about this or whatever. And we learn that she has a love for astrology, which that's odd, but so
and you saw the sign they showed was Cancer, right?
No, they showed Leo and Cancer.
Whatever.
They showed Lion. I'm sorry.
Cancer is what I saw.
I saw Lion, so we can go back and debate who's right. But
they actually did show Cancer. They might have showed Leo too. But
they showed both.
They absolutely showed Cancer.
They showed both.
Okay.
So we also get the impression from this moment that his mom is not no dummy either.
No, she's not.
She seemed to be very well put together and very versed. And she giving him the rundown, like, look, this is an opportunity for you to come make something out of yourself, get out this hood, get out this life that we're in. You're going to take this opportunity. And he looks at her like, yeah, whatever. So then it pans to Laverne, Jukebox, in her, I guess they call it choir class back then, but really it's chorus. She was in chorus class singing her heart out. And, he just kind of spoke to that, yeah, my cousin can sing, but don't get it twisted. Like, she a thug for real.
Yeah, she a thug. Yeah, she's an angelic thug. She was
an angelic thug.
She would definitely get at you.
And so then we switch to them at the lunch line, and it's his little love interest walk up, and she's playing the game with him. I really didn't. Davina, yes. And so I had to go back. I had to go back because I was trying to figure out, is this Sean's mom? But her name was Javita or something like that. It's weird, but it's not her. But anyway, they're going back and forth, and they're kind of flirting with each other. She's flirting with him, he's flirting with her, and we learned that he's had a crush on her from like first grade.
Right.
And this happens to be Buck 20's old lady. And so, he's sitting there at the lunch table, sizing her up and whatever. And Jukebox came up and like, how long she been dissing you? Like, oh, she ain't for you. And then so we meet some more of their friends. We meet the Puerto Rican famous, whose name is Sean. And so, they all got a little crew, and they're doing what high school kids do. They're having a good time. And it was really nice to see this side of Kanan's character, the innocence of his character.
Right.
And so we then switch to the mom and Lulu. We meet her. I couldn't remember if Lulu was the baby brother or the oldest. I think Marvin was the oldest. Lulu and
Raquel, Marvin was the oldest. Lulu was the baby.
They're at the hospital and they're going to check on one of the workers that don't got shot up. From one, I guess they got some beef with Unique, which we'll meet later on in the episode. But I took that as they were beefing over territory, over corners, or it was a new crew that was coming in that was beefing with them over. They didn't really make that clear, or either I didn't catch that in the moment.
They did. They had that conversation when she had the meeting with, I guess that was Unique's representative, or it was another dealer. When she met down, when they both had on those furs and they met down on the water, the first one, not the second. Right. Remember the first time he said to her, what's up? Like, what's up? You on those corners? We agreed that between the block of this and that would be like a neutral zone and nobody would take it. And she was like, that was a deal that the last person made. I didn't make that deal. So as far as I'm concerned, it's open territory. And he was like, okay, well, you don't get to make that decision without having
See,
a
stop right
conversation.
there. Because in that moment, I felt like she was saying that High Post had made
That's what
that.
I thought she was saying too.
Yeah, that's the impression that I got. That High
Yeah,
Post had
I
made
think
that
she was
deal.
talking
I
about
did.
Hoppo. Right,
Yeah, I thought she
right.
was too. Okay, so we're on the same page with that. And then we meet their other worker. Oh well, then Marvin comes in. Marvin is the older brother, which is Jukebox's dad. Comes in and they kind of talk about the situation. We meet the other worker, Scrappy. We meet the other worker, and they're just kind of like having a conversation about the territories. But it's very clear to see in this moment that Raquel is running things, like
Yeah.
she's the boss. And so, she's pretty much telling them that she'll deal with it, she'll handle it. And I kind of felt like Marvin, in so many words, kind of wanted to go to war.
Yeah. Yeah.
He kind of wanted to take the corners back. He
Right.
wasn't really with this diplomatic way of handling shit. I felt like he was more so ready to go shoot some shit up.
That's the impression that I got as well. And that in that conversation, that was the first time you heard her sort of allude to the fact that he had an opportunity to be in charge but couldn't handle it. She didn't. I forgot how she worded it that first time. I mean, the second time she said it, she just came right out and said it. But she sort of alluded to something about who's in charge or something like that. But you get the impression that he had the opportunity to be in charge, or he's something about him making a mistake, or he screwed up before or something, and he kind of shut up. That was in the hospital, and then later on she says it again. But that
And I think
so
it's because
something.
he's a hothead. I think
Right,
it's because he's a
right.
hothead, and yeah. So okay, we're on the same point with that because that was the vibe that I was getting too. And she pretty much was like, "I'll handle it," and she kind of going about her business. And then we switched to the Kanan and his crew at a pizza joint. Jukebox and Famous. They're playing a video game. They're doing what kids do, and I really like that. I really
Definitely
like.
in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, even the Street Fighter.
Right. I
it
spent
made it
many a
feel like it was
Saturday.
really, really real, like in that moment. And
Right.
so at that point, Kanan is looking out the window, or he actually went to the change machine, and then he looked out the window and saw Buck 20 pull up in his whip, and they all gawking at him and like, oh, I guess he's the big time drug dealer in the city.
Unique. It was unique.
Was it unique? Yeah, it was unique. It was unique because he was
Buck
getting out
20
the
Buck 20
BMW.
was standing there
Yeah, he
because
was
that's when
with him. That's right. Yep.
Keenan was like, "Oh, I didn't know Unique was the one that put Buck on."
That's right. He did say that because then they started talking about the car being bulletproof. You're right. Yep. And so at that point, I think that's when Kanan kind of like, it was almost like he was at that life, but he didn't seem to have a bad life either, though. Even though his family is in the drug dealing and everything too, but I think he wanted that to be that dude.
Yeah. Very reminiscent of Tariq. Tariq had no reason to want to be a drug dealer. None.
Correct. This is a whole parallel to Tariq, and I was going to touch on that later on in the show, but you're absolutely right. So we then see Lulu and Raquel pull up to the club. This is where I get irritated at, right here. We pull up to the 1991 version of Truth. This is where I get irritated with the writing because we are recycling the same thing. So apparently they have been selling drugs in this club. And was she the new club owner? What was the chick? Who was the chick?
She was the new PR person or something
for the club.
Yeah.
And she pretty much told them that y'all ain't gonna sell y'all drugs here no more. I'm gonna get my people.
Yeah, because she said y'all drugs is some trash.
Yep. Raquel called her a bitch.
Sure did.
She was like,
I ain't no scared white bitch.
Yeah. And one thing that we noticed instantly with Botox Barbie is that she has affinity for the doll.
Botox Barbie.
I swear lips full of collagen. I mean, she just looks like she's a Barbie doll. And she's sitting there talking cash shit about their drugs or whatever, and pretty
She
much
sure
telling them
was.
to be gone. She was very
And talking to them
dismissive.
crazy, like
Yeah, she was very dismissive in
I don't know
her.
who you used to dealing with, but you clearly have misjudged this situation.
Yeah, and I ain't no scary white bitch.
Right.
Yeah. So Raquel's like, you don't know you fucking with, but you about to find out. And
Right.
so she kind of step away while Lulu kind of, tells her to take a step back and let him try to go at the girl and talk to the white lady. I don't even know what the lady name is. I'll figure it out by the next episode. Um, but anyway, she goes over to the bar, and that's when she meets Sympathy. I can't even say the dude name, but uh,
Symphonique or something like that. Yeah,
the,
something
the
crazy.
the ghost for the show. He's going to be the ghost character for the show. He's put there for one reason and one reason on, and it's to be her love interest for the show. And so they kind of have like a little introduction to each other. And, she kind of flirts with him, and he kind of flirts with her a little bit. She's sizing him up or whatever, and he pretty much tells her um, that he tends bar there at the club part time because he's in school for his master's. And, and she seems to be intrigued by that, and he seems to be intrigued with her. But I didn't get the feeling that Lulu was able to resolve the drug conflict with the PR lady. That just kind of, I didn't see where there was a resolution. And given what they did to the dog, I guess there wasn't.
I don't know.
So
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the dog situation was strictly get back. I don't know if it had nothing to do with them resolving the issue or not. I think that was Raquel on some straight up personal. You called me out my name, you dog. You disrespected me, and I got something for you
well,
because
she was talking shit about the product. She was talking shit about the
yeah,
product, and you getting ready to cut off my lifeline because I'm assuming, aside from the corners, the club brings in pretty good revenue.
yeah,
When you moving product, so she's at risk of fucking it up. So that's why I was curious as to whether or not the dog was retaliation because this we're being catty and bitchy at each other. You call me a bitch, I call you a bitch, so I'm finna fuck your dog up, or you finna fuck my money up, and I'm finna send you a message. So
yeah.
maybe we'll find out more about that.
Yeah, because I don't think that we didn't really get an answer to that, and I don't know. But like I said, I know that was some straight up get back. She was like, "Okay, I got something for you. You not scared of me? Cool. You ain't gotta be scared. But watch this." Like,
So we then switched to the diner, which I kind of felt like it was a family diner. It seemed like in Kanan's narration, he said something about that being the family diner, or maybe that being the family's go-to spot where they eat it every week. Where they go sit down.
yeah, he
And
said,
who?
"Well, this is our spot." So I don't know if that meant like we own it, or this is like you said, this is where we go every week. But he definitely said they meet there every Wednesday night.
So the reason why I feel like it's the family's business is because we have to have somewhere to wash the money. So
That's true.
I
That's true.
assume that the diner is their family diner, but we'll find
That's
out
true.
about that as
That is
the
valid.
season progresses. But who's at the table? Jukebox is right there at the table. But what I like about the situation, which I cannot wait to see further episodes and possible further seasons, to see where the relationship between Kanan and Jukebox goes. Because very reminiscent to my childhood, I grew up with cousins that were like siblings to me. And that's what Jukebox is. Jukebox is not just his cousin. She's like a sister at this point.
Yeah,
She
they
is part.
definitely.
She is part of the family, and anytime something pop off, all of them always ask where Jukebox. So that means they two peas in a pod. They thick as thieves.
Hmm.
You don't see one without the other. So if something happening and Jukebox not there, then the family is concerned about that. And so we kind of learn Raquel has high hopes for her child, but her brother Marvin, which is Jukebox's father, doesn't seem to be too interested in Jukebox education or her
Right.
singing or wanting to better herself. He seems to be perfectly content with her being a part of the business.
That
At
ghetto
this
mentality.
point, yeah, that ghetto mentality. At this point, it hasn't really been identified that she's even part of the family business. But she's, they don't seem to keep those secrets from their children.
Right.
So their children clearly knows that they do drug dealing or whatever, but at the same time, they're not involved in the business. But it seems like Marvin has a different expectation for Jukebox than his sister has for Kanan. So it seems like there's a little bit of push and pull there between Jukebox and her dad, because he don't seem to be, he's not here for the singing at all. He not there, but Raquel seems to want these kids to have a normal teenage life. So at this point, Famous and his sister pulls up on them at the diner. And, they pretty much invite him to sit down and have dinner with them or whatever. And Lulu starts flirting with the sister. And the sister starts kind of flirting back with Lulu. So, they all just sitting there, they having a good time. And, they talking about the business. And then I guess when they were getting ready to leave, they were getting ready to part and go their separate ways. Unique and his crew, or Unique had some of his crew pull up on him and start busting at him. And I couldn't figure out what that was all about, because at this point they hadn't had no conflict. So I was trying to figure out why he had them busting at them. Or was it because they were arguing over the territories initially?
I think it was the territory, because remember, after that is when she went and had the conversation with him about it.
That's right. That's when they had the fur coats on. They were in the park.
Right. Because that was after the situation where the guys had to go to the hospital, but it was before she actually had the conversation at the park. And that's why, now that's the part I wasn't sure about. Was the dude she met at the park a third drug dealer, or was he a representative of Unique? Which I would find to be a little disrespectful if Raquel is queen pin of her organization, but she meeting with a representative of Unique's organization.
No, that was Unique she met with.
Oh, that was Unique? Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Because when the car was pulling off at them shooting, Kanan looked, and out the back window was Buck 20. So, when he got home that night, she came in.
He said he knew who it was.
Yep, he told her I knew who it was and all that good stuff. And that's at that point, I think he had made up his mind that I want to be part of the business. Like, these niggas out here shooting at my mama. At this point, he's worried. He's worried about what's going to happen to his mama. He's worried about what's going to happen to him if something does happen to his mama. So I think at that moment in time was when he made the decision that I want to be a part of the business so I can look after my mama. Very reminiscent to a Tariq and Tasha situation where Tariq felt the need that he had to protect Tasha from ghosts. So in this moment, he made that decision that, Mom, I'm smarter than you think. I know what's going on. I know y'all code. I know the numbers or whatever. He just started making assumptions. And, we're going to see where his assumptions lead him to. But, being young and dumb and thinking that you all knowing, and you really fucked up a situation, because I do feel like Raquel had the situation under control. And then
she absolutely had it under control. She absolutely. And she told him that night, she said, you don't know what you think you know. Like, okay, you know that we're in the business, but you don't like, mind your business. You stay in your place. Your job is to go to school. Like, don't worry about what's going on with the business. Like, she tried to tell him, you don't know what you think you know.
Yeah. And so Ken had on a fat ass North Face jacket too. I like that North Face jacket he had on. That jacket was dope. Oh man, that's a drip. But at that moment, it seemed like Famous and even Jukebox. Jukebox didn't even seem as eager to want to be part of the family business as Kanan did, even though she seemed to be a lot more thuggish and a lot more harder. She doesn't seem to be as pressed about wanting to be a part of the family business as she is about being a teenager. No, it was definitely Unique that was meeting with her, because they were both going back and forth about their coats, and he had on his Big Daddy Kane chain. That jacket was dope though. And so they did have their workers there.
Nice.
Both of them had their workers there, but I kind of like how they do their little parlays. I really like how they do their parlays, because both of their workers are on each side of them, kind of watching over them or whatever. So I really like that, face to face. We're going to meet and we're going to talk about our issues instead of shooting up the place. And, we're going to come to an agreement. And so at that point, they came to an agreement on the corners, and she took one extra. And so apparently, she gave up some of the corners that she had already had.
Right.
And so I guess that's where Kanan makes that fateful decision, because he thinks that they've taken his mom's corners away, not knowing that she gave them corners to him and took a different set of corners. And so that just created a whole big mess.
Right. That's where my frustration got started. But go ahead.
So we got Botox Barbie. She getting her back cracked by somebody. I mean, she getting her. I don't know who. I guess it was just some random black dude.
Yeah,
so,
I feel like it was just some random dude she was with.
yeah, because it wasn't the dude from the club, and it wasn't Lulu. Because at first I thought it was gonna be Lulu. I said, oh, he fucking for that them drugs in the club, but it wasn't him. And she's like, I smell something. Something don't smell right. And I'm like, damn.
Oh my gosh. And as soon as she said it, I knew it was a dog. I didn't know what they had done to the dog, but I knew it was a dog.
How'd you know it was a dog? It just felt like something had to do with that fucking dog.
Yeah, because like you said, you knew that was the only thing she seemed to really give a damn about. So when she was like, something smelled funny, I was like, what else could it be that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I said, like, now I just thought the dog was dead. I didn't know that it was.
So somebody has broken into her apartment while she fucking on old dude and put her dog in the microwave and cooked her dog
in the
alive.
microwave.
I'm like, but keeping true with a power show. I mean, we can't have a power show without sex, and we can't have a power show without murder. Right. So I guess that's the first body. The poor dog.
Right, the poor dog.
Yeah. That was fucked up. So the next scene goes to Raquel dropping Kanan off at the school to do the entrance exam. So they had to do a 3-hour long entrance exam to get admitted into the school. And they still have that conversation. You still see the reluctance and the hesitation, and I just don't want to fucking do this on Kanan's face. And so, and I can't remember, somebody had said something to him about going up into that school with all the white folks. I can't remember who it was.
I don't know who said that, but I know Famous was the one that suggested, why don't you just throw the test? Like, if you don't want to go there, just throw the test.
Yeah, I remember Famous suggesting that, but somebody even put the idea in his head that you're going to be up here with all these white folks. I don't know if it was Jukebox or if it was Marvin. I want to say it was Jukebox, maybe. I have to go back and rewatch. But somebody planted that seed, and then when Famous kind of confirmed it, when he was like, why don't you just throw the test? And that's exactly, he looked around that room.
And he looked at all them people.
Yep.
Like,
fuck this, I'm out. And the answer to every question was B.
Yeah.
And he was through with the test in 5 minutes. And so, needless to say, there goes your opportunity, gone. And I really feel bad at that moment for him, because all that was just poor decisions. So Raquel pulled back up to the spot, and oh boy, Scrappy, I guess that's one of her street workers, gave her the dog leash. So you might be right. That might be some, oh, you call me a bitch? I got your bitch.
Yeah, because remember, Marvin didn't know nothing about it. Remember, Marvin was like something about the dog, and she was like, what dog? Remember, Marvin, she didn't let Marvin know what was up. Dude just gave her the dog tags and was like, I took care of that, or something. Whatever he said it in code, so to speak. And then Marvin was like, oh, you got the dog? And she was like, what dog? And he just kind of looked and started smiling like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know my sister.
Yep.
Yeah.
She did it. She did it. And so then you see Kanan show back up to the pizza place, and the rest of his friends there, and that's when we meet his homeboy D-Wiz. And so D-Wiz he don't seem to be part of the drug dealing business. I just think that's his Kanan friend that he run with. And D-Wiz seemed to be about that life. And so I think that's when they started having the conversation about Buck, right? I think that's when they started talking about Buck and the corners. And at some point, Kanan is concerned about his family. And doesn't he ask D-Wiz for a gun?
No, he went to the window and he saw that they were on the corner, and he was like, "Yo,
That's my
they
family
on my
corner. That's
that's
right.
my family corner."
Yep.
And D Wiz was like, "Yo, I got some kerosene at the house. Like, we can burn that
Yep.
bitch down." Like,
We
he
can
said
burn
it
that
with a
bitch up
straight face. He ain't even
with no
hesitate. He said,
hesitation.
right. He would say that with a straight face. Like, well, I mean, we can burn the house down. What you want to do? Like how you trying to carry it? You know?
Yo, he sure did, yo. And so, Famous is like, you sure you want to get in it and get in the middle of this? You want to get involved? I'm like, D Wiz like, shit, we finna go handle this business.
Right.
He was ready for the smoke. He wanted all the smoke. He didn't want to play with them at all.
Right. Now, that was in that moment is where I started getting frustrated because I was like, all that was a phone call. He didn't even have to call his mom. I feel like he could have called Uncle Lulu and been like, "Do you know that down here on Mom's corner? Like, what's up?"
I even feel like maybe even Jukebox would have known what was up because keep in mind she wasn't
We know
there at the
Jukebox was
arcade.
busy.
Well, yeah, I was actually getting ready to get to that. So Jukebox got her Walkman on. She just posted up on a corner, and here I was thinking that she was waiting on Kanan, and come to find out, it's a group of Becky's walking down the street. So I'm trying to figure out, what's up. She get ready to rob one of them. That's what I was thinking.
That's what I thought at first too. I was like, okay, what's going on here?
She to rob one of them, but so Jukebox character is a lesbian, and I kind of felt like, she came out. Well, I guess so because she did say something about Empower that her dad had kicked her out when he found out she was a lesbian. So I guess this is the start of that. But there's a white girl that I didn't really get the full understanding of how they met or where they met at. Because she doesn't go to the same school as Jukebox does. Because remember, the other girls was like Jamaica, like from the country Jamaica. It was like, no, Jamaica Queens. So clearly she's on the Upper East side of town right now.
Right.
So, but I didn't really get the full understanding of where she met little Becky.
Well, she said she met her at a choir situation, and I feel like maybe there was like a citywide choir or something. That's where she met her because that's what she said.
And the girlfriends are looking at her like, you getting ready to go hang out with this black girl?
Right.
But clearly she see it for Juke. And she really liked Juke. She tells Juke how pretty she is and whatever. Right. And she even tries to kiss her. But in this moment, we see that Jukebox is not ready to accept what she is.
I feel like this was probably like her first like real crush, like that she acted on or something like that. Because you could tell she was unsure throughout the whole situation.
Yeah, she seemed very nervous as to where this was going to go, but she liked it.
Mm-hmm.
She liked it. And so, I guess that's the start of what we're going to learn, what she's going to become. And, her ignorant ass daddy, just he ain't going to be pleased with that at all. And so Kanan meets up with his crew and they decide they're going to do what they're going to do.
This was just so stupid. In
broad daylight.
Broad daylight over something you don't even know. Like, again, I get it that it was your mama's corner last week and this week is not, but you literally know that there was a shootout where they weren't really shooting at your mom. They were shooting up in the air. There was a warning. What made you think that your mom, Uncle Lulu, Uncle Marvin, like what made you think nobody had addressed nothing yet?
Yeah.
And I just felt like I feel like he was too old to not think that through for him to be as smart as they were trying to say he was.
But you know what? Ghost alluded to this or spoke to this in several episodes throughout Power, and we're starting to see this. It's all coming together now. Because he used to say, you remember when they had that fight, and he set Kanan on fire. He was like, "You always a hothead, or you always react and don't think things through, or whatever." They've always kind of alluded to the fact of Kanan being a hothead and kind of reacting first and not thinking things all the way through.
Well, that definitely was an example because that was so unnecessary.
Yes, that was a very good example to that characteristic about him, because Buck 20 is like, yo, what's up? And I feel like this is unsettled beef from that playground.
Right. Because the way they were like, what you want, Kanan? what you doing here, Kanan? Like the way
Like
they was,
together. They grew up together, and it's always been an antagonistic type relationship between the two of them. And I think at some point when Kanan realized I just killed this nigga, that reality is like, even though I didn't see it for him, we didn't get along, I still grew up with you. You know what I mean? Because I just didn't understand what the point of him going over to him and checking on him after you just shot this nigga dead. D Wiz looking at you like, nigga, what the fuck? Let's go.
Right.
And when he clenched him in the chest, it was just like, that's that final moment. Like, I'll never bother you again. You'll never bother me again type deal. That was his first body, and he sat there and watched him die. But in all reality, he should have been caught at this point. I mean, they all should have been caught. And D Wiz is standing there with the gun still. Kanan's running down the street with a whole bloody sweatshirt on. Like, for real, he should have been arrested.
Right. I mean, and the fact that everybody knew he did it. Like, it was
the whole
worst kept
neighborhood
secret.
knew he
like,
did. Right.
Everybody knew he did it.
And so when he gets home, well, no, because his mom was at the restaurant with old boy from the club. That's right.
Her little date.
She was on a date. That's right. She was on a date with old boy, and she was basically telling him like, "Yo, I'm not gonna fit into your world." And he was like, "Why?" And she was like, "Because of what I do." He was like, "It's not a problem for me if it's not a problem for you." And that really, really got her wheels turning right there, because like, oh, he can accept me for who I am. But we're gonna see that this is gonna be the issue in this relationship. I already see it. Oh, this is so ironic. This is gonna be the issue in this relationship. She got money, and she gotta let it be known at all times she got money. This dude just invited you to dinner, and Lulu comes up and say, "Yo, Kanan." That's all he had to say. He didn't have to give no other explanation.
Right. All he said was Kanan, and she was out.
She was out. Listen, here. I got the check. He was like, "Why are you paying? I invited
you. Right. Right.
I think that this is what's going to be the issue with this relationship as it progresses, is that she's a boss, and she's used to being a boss, and she's not going to know how to receive this man, because clearly his money is not going to be as long as hers, and he's not going to be able to do the things, because they seem like they're at a very nice, well-to-do restaurant,
Right. And that seems to be, and she seems to always feel like her money fixes everything, because I ain't gonna say much fixes it, but like, even when
you're right, you're on the right path, because I was gonna say something about that too. When she paid Unique.
Right. She paid off Unique. But even when Famous showed up for dinner, she was like, "Sit down, I got dinner." Like, it's just like that's her first instinct. I got this. I got it. She gave Unique the money when she went to the hospital. On her way out the door, we got the bill. And I'm not saying that she didn't owe it to them. Like if your worker gets shot, you're supposed to pay the bill. If you know that your son was the reason why his worker got shot up, okay, I'm gonna get the family some money. I ain't saying she was wrong, but that she definitely seems to lead with money.
She feels like that's going to instantly fix the problem. And we've seen this before. Where we think that money is going to solve the problem. But here at the family meeting, Jukebox is sitting right there at the table. Kanan is trying to defend himself and explain his rationality behind what he did. Marvin and Lulu are there. And Raquel is just going in. She's like, "You just don't fucked up everything, yo. You stupid."
He did.
He really did.
And that's when she yells at Uncle Marvin, and that's when she really lays into his ass.
And then he lay in the Jukebox like, "Where the fuck you was at?"
Right. And because Kenan was like, "Well, why did you get a corner away?" And Marvin was like, "That's what I said." And she lit his ass.
Yeah, she did. She fire on her ass. But going back to, why does everyone, maybe we'll see this in the next episode. I'm hoping that we see this soon and me not have to wonder why Jukebox is heavily relied on, because it seems to be Jukebox is Kanan's protector, or at least that's what they look at her to be. Like, they look at her to look after him.
I think, one, because she's the older cousin, so in the family, it's always the older one that they look at to be the person to look out. And two, because if she were a girly girl, I don't think that would be the case. But because she is a tomboy, and like he said, like, don't get it twisted, she she don't play them games. I think if she were a girly girl, it probably wouldn't be. But the fact that she's, real tomboyish, and the fact that they ride so hard together. Because remember, even when he got into the fight, going back to the beginning of the episode, um, I want to say the dude asked where was no when she went upstairs to talk to him. She said, "Where was Jukebox?" And he was like, "They were holding her." So it's always, well, where was, if y'all was at the park together, how you get your ass beaten Jukebox? Like, where was she?
I feel like we had a Tasha and Tariq moment here, because at this moment, Kanan think he grown.
Yeah. Oh, yo, he was disrespectful as hell.
He wasn't as disrespectful as Tariq, though.
No, he wasn't as disrespectful as Tariq, but yo,
I feel like he's trying to come into his own, and even though it's not just him and his mama, because his family is he has a very close-knit family, and they're all around, they're all involved or whatever, but he still look at his family unit, his family situation, to be that of him and his mama. It's almost like he omits Jukebox, he omits his uncles, and he just see that it's just nobody but him and his mom, and he don't want anything to jeopardize that relationship. So,
right.
She's sitting down here and she's just going through, because she's trying to figure out, how am I going to fix this?
But he brought up, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to say something. But he brought up a good point, though, two things I want to bring up before we get to that. The first one is, I was surprised that neither one of the men jumped in when he got out of pocket. Like, I mean, at the beginning, okay, let her handle it. That's her son. But when he got disrespectful, I was really surprised that they didn't check him. That was not so much Marvin, but Uncle Lulu. I really was waiting for Lulu to say something,
because he seemed to be the most rational one.
Yeah, he seemed to be that one, right? But now he was focused on getting the evidence, and we saw that. And I know you saw it when he was like, "We need to burn that," and I was like, that took me back to Power, and it took me back to the first episode of Power, where we saw Ghost kill that witness, and first thing she did was take them clothes down to the incinerator, and then when Tariq caught his body, she like, "You got to burn your clothes." Like, that's the first thing I thought of. Right. That's the first. And then the last thing I'm gonna say is what I didn't understand. I mean, the thing that I thought that he said that was valid was, if you didn't want me around and you were so worried about me being in a good school, you'd have sent me to grandma's house a long time ago. So, like, you need to be honest with yourself about where you really want me, because grandma live in a good area where the schools are good. So if this was about me going to a good school, then you would already have me at grandma's house and away from all this bullshit. But the fact that you got me here makes me feel like you want me here.
And they even spoke to that, because she even said, that's why I got grandma the house upstate. That's your security blanket. But when she heard them, when he came downstairs, he wanted to try to talk to her and talk about it some more. And she was like, nah, we ain't ready for that yet.
Yeah, we ain't ready. But I did think, go ahead. I'm going to let you, I'm sorry, because I feel like I keep saying it before you say it. Go ahead.
No, you could. You go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but again, that scene was predictable as hell. And I was shocked when she told him, go take the trash out. I was like, are you crazy? I knew
exactly what was getting ready to happen. Yep.
I was like, why would you let that boy go outside? You know.
There's a bounty on his head. And when she heard them gunshots, of course, Kanan goes outside, put the trash out, and some of Unique's workers, or Buck 20's workers, ride through, start blasting up the place. They shoot up the place. And as soon as she heard them gunshots, she didn't hesitate at all. She outside on the porch. Yeah, she was out there on the porch with the gat busted. And that's when we get introduced to Omar Epps' character. Was it Malcolm? I think his name was Malcolm.
Malcolm, I think, yeah.
Yeah, he pulls up, and he clearly knows she in the life or whatever. And he pretty much asks her, they hit the wrong house. That's the story you're gonna stick to. So he know that she sell drugs. He know what.
And he knew they were looking for Kanan.
And he knew that they were after Kanan. He knew what was in the streets.
He knew exactly what it was.
And he is that cop that's going to keep his ear in the streets, because it seemed like there was a rookie detective out there, or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about running ballistics on the shell casings, And he's like, shit, for what? The gun is in the Hudson River
Bottom of the
right
river
now.
by now,
Right.
right? Like,
You wasting your time.
right? Ain't no ballistics off of that. You ain't getting nothing off of that. Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to see what his character is. But being that it's Omar Epps and he's pretty much the star of this show. I mean, he's pretty much the A-list
Yeah, I'm about to say he's the
actor.
only established name.
So I got to imagine that he wants more for his character than just to be a beat cop. So let's see where his character evolves into, because it's going to be very interesting. And once again, the family shows up and Jukebox is in tow. And, he asked her, I guess that was finally the opportunity for him to ask her, like, where were you when I shot up old dude? And, he knew right then and there that she was with the white girl.
Yeah, which tells you they talked about it.
Yeah, that they've talked about it. She's confided in him about it. And so Lulu was telling him, ain't no amount of money gonna fix this. Ain't no school, ain't no way you gonna be able to hide him from this. And and Marvin confirmed it. He was like, and his mama can't save him. So at that point, she came to the realization, she came to the conclusion, accepted it, that he's in. I mean, there is no, the life I wanted from him is gone. In this moment right now, that life I wanted from my child is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when she goes see Unique with the money to try to fix the situation and get the bounty off Kanan's head, which he told her he would lift the bounty, but he was like, look, Buck 20 probably had people that cared about him, and there's some other people out here that going want to avenge his death. So I'm not gonna be able to fix this for you, but I'll tell you what, I am gonna take all these corners. And she couldn't buck it. She knew it for herself that she couldn't buck it. Like, your son has fucked up your whole organization at this point, and now you got to do damage control. But and then I think the episode ends with her waking Kanan up in the middle of the night, which we all assume that she was taking him away to grandma's house, but she didn't. She took him outside of town, and she pretty much showed him how to use a gun.
But okay, so maybe I missed something, because I feel like Unique told her he was taking her corners, and she told him, "No, you not." And he was like, basically, I feel like they're at war now. But I don't know that.
Oh, okay,
I don't
okay.
know.
You might be onto something, because I thought about that in just a brief
I mean,
moment too. I feel like for the moment, this is how I felt. I felt like in that moment in time, she had no choice but to agree to
because
get
she
the
told
bounty
him, you
off her
don't want
son.
that. She was like, you don't want this. And he was like, it's whatever. I mean, basically, he was like, it's whatever. Like, I feel like he has every intention of taking them, but I don't feel like she gave him
She
up.
gonna
She
give
was
him up.
like,
Okay, got
yeah.
it.
But
So this is gonna start their war.
and right. And then the other thing that I thought was good was the thing he said to her. He was like, and this is why women aren't. This is why women shouldn't be in the business, because at the end of the day, what the way you should handle Kanan, you're not going to handle him, because that's your son. And she was like, well, you got a child too. He said, yeah, but I didn't grow him in my body, and so my connection to him, my connection to, he called his son by name Jerome. He said my connection to Jerome is different. And I felt like in that moment he was telling her, you supposed to be giving us your son to resolve this issue, but because that's your son, you're not going to do it.
Oh, big facts.
Remember that? You remember that whole, he gave her that whole speech about that's why women shouldn't be in this line of work, because you can't make the hard decision when you need to, because that's your child. And he was like, I mean, I'm gonna protect my son. And he's my son. But the way you supposed to be handling this right now, you're not, because that's your child.
And then she was like, I'm not gonna get on my knees for no man. And
Yeah.
so in that moment, she was like, I'm gonna ride for mine.
Right.
So and she's not gonna give up her child. But I feel like that's exactly the message that he was sending her. You actually conveyed that perfectly, because that's exactly what he was pretty much telling her. Like, how you make this right is you give us your son. And
Yeah.
She wasn't trying to hear none of that. And so at that moment, she had no choice but to let me teach this boy how to handle himself out here in these streets, because he's gonna have a target on him from now on.
Right. Like I can't protect him forever. And it's really, and like Lulu said, there's nothing you can do at this point, because even if you send him to grandma's house now, they're going to be looking for him, and it's going to really just cause carnage until they find him. So
Yep.
you gotta handle it. You can't send him away now. Like you waited too long if that's what you really wanted to do. Which took me back to what Kanan said. If you didn't want me in it, you wouldn't have me in it.
And they had their mother and son moment. They had their
Yeah.
Tasha and Tariq moment. That's what I'm gonna hear and now refer to it as. They had their Tasha and Tariq moment where she took him out and she showed him how to handle a firearm. She showed
Yep.
him how
She
to
sure
handle
did.
himself. And so I think this is where we're gonna meet the Kanan that we're familiar with in future episodes.
Right.
But all in all, great episode, great pilot episode,
I thought it was a good episode. I
way
definitely
better
thought it
than
was
I expected it to be, way better than book two.
way better than definitely better than book. I mean, there's no comparison to book two. But
Yes,
it's definitely better than
one
I.
episode in beats all 10. So
You right. You right. You right. And that's why I was saying, and I said that in my review. I was like, I was frustrated at what happened, but it wasn't because of bad writing. It wasn't because of bad acting. I just wanted to wring Kanan's fucking neck, because I was like, one phone call, and I get it.
But
Like
this
there would have
takes
been
you
no
right back
conflict.
to power. Oh my God, this takes you right back to power. A lot of this is a callback to that, because it's just no different than Tariq and his stupid ass decisions. Like, I feel like Tariq fucked up his whole life. He fucked up his whole situation. He fucked up his sister's life just by doing dumb shit. It's like when he took the fucking gun to school. When he stole Angela's gun and took the gun to school,
Right.
nobody was bothering you. You didn't need it for protection or anything like that. You just
Right.
make a dumb decision that just was the catalyst to so much other bad things that happened. But I know last week in our first thoughts, we had a big discussion about whether or not we're going to see Ghost and Tommy, and I don't think so. And the reason why, I'm going back to the very last episode, I feel like the timelines that they're popping up on the show is
It's
giving
too
us,
early.
it's too early, right? Because remember at the end of Power, it was 1996. We're just at 91 right now. If we're at 91 right now, Ghost and Tommy ain't came along yet. So I don't feel
Right.
like
And
we're
Kanan was
going.
older than them. Like remember
And Kanan was older than
they
them.
were his
Yep.
proteges. I mean, they were like he was showing them the ropes. They were younger because remember in that flashback, they were in high school, and that's when Tommy was running up on Ghost and was like, "Yo, Kanan won us." So Kanan is already the man at that point. Like he's at least older
He's
than high
made.
school age.
Yep.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
older than high school age at that point. Like it's a whole nother group of people. So yeah. I don't think we even get a sniff of a Saint James for a minute. I mean Saint Patrick for, like you said, it's already been renewed for season 2, right?
Yep.
So I'm talking maybe at the end of season 2. Excuse me,
It just
season
depends.
3 type
Bless you.
situation.
It just depends on how fast these years go down right here, because I think
Right.
there's a lot to be told with where we're at right now, because I mean, and there's a lot of storytelling that needs to be told with this, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they do this, because we know that a lot of these characters aren't going to make it out. So we know that his mom's not going to make it. We know that Lulu's not going to make it. We know that Marvin's not going to make it. We know that Famous is not going to make it. The only person that we know that we can confirm that we know made it out is Jukebox, and he ends up killing her, which
Right.
that takes me back to that moment of just what he felt for Tariq, for him to kill his sister, his cousin, like as tight as they were, as close as they were. To me, I feel like when they part and go their separate ways, because somehow, somewhere, they're going to have to explain how she ends up making it to DC.
Right.
We're going to have to figure out. They're going to have to show us where him and Jukebox part ways, because you would think that him and Jukebox would have grown over the years and they would still been in life in the game, but obviously he stayed in life. She went and got a job as a cop, so they're going to part and go their separate ways at some point.
And she may have left to go to DC after he went to jail.
Maybe.
Because how long was he in jail? He had been in jail for. He'd been in jail for a minute.
No, I'm gonna have to go back and watch first season of Power, but it seems like I think that he was there for maybe 5 years. I want to say or something like that.
He had to
Because
be old enough. It had to be long enough for Tariq not to remember him. Because remember, Tariq didn't know who he was when he first started being friends with Tariq. Tariq didn't have no, and I get it that Tariq was a kid, but what I'm saying is, it had to be old enough that Tariq had no memories of him.
I don't
That's not
think
to
that
say he
those
wasn't
kids were
around,
even born
right?
because
So it had to be at least 10 years because Tariq was already in high school when Power started.
oh, facts, 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 big facts, and not to mention his own son, Sean. I felt
Right.
like he was at a younger age when Kanan went in and got out. So you might be right about that. So maybe that was the catalyst for her to kind of get her life together when he went to jail. So we'll see about that. But I feel like that we have met all. One thing I liked about this show, they introduced us to the whole character. They introduced us to all the characters. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that we're going to meet anyone else that we didn't meet in this episode. I think this is the cast and characters that we are. Now there may be some other little, recurring cast members that pop up, but they made to me it seemed like they made a point to introduce us to every single character that's going to be important to this story for season one, even down to Botox Barbie at the club, Omar Epps, Malcolm, the police officer. It's like we got introduced to every single character that's going to be important to the story. So I really like that. So hopefully next episode we lose the narration because at this point there's no point of Kanan narrating the story any further. Now we need to watch the story play out.
And
At,
and I'm a, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
go ahead. No, I was done.
No, I was just saying, and I know that one of our biggest frustrations, and I even said this last week with book two, was that we felt like it was just a rewriting of the same thing, and it was lazy writing. But even though we see parallels in this first episode, I don't feel that way yet, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I feel like it's a reach back to explain a lot of what we saw in Power. Like,
I
for
agree.
example, I'm already feeling like, okay, maybe this is what was, like you said, like it explains what we saw, versus I feel like they just rely on the same formula and regurgitating the formula because it worked the first time.
Now some of the things that some things I am a little. You're absolutely right about that. Overall, that's exactly how I feel. But there were some things I wish that they would have done different. Instead of them selling drugs at a nightclub, why they couldn't sell them somewhere else. It's like the whole nightclub element is overused at this point, you know. And I guess because we went through 6 whole seasons of truth with
Right.
Power,
And
it
that being the beginning of the end for him and Tasha to begin with.
right. It was just very surprising to see that the first thing that they do, and even I feel like we even have that in book two, not so much as a full fledged club, but I feel like Mary J. Blige's character owns that bar that they're always at in book two. So I mean, I guess that's maybe the most easiest place to sell drugs and wash money and clean drug money. I guess I don't know. Not in that life.
I'm about to say, I definitely have no idea.
You know,
I
I would have
don't
liked
know
to
nothing
see
about
any
it.
other element, a laundromat, car wash, a dry cleaner,
Well, no,
even a
laundromat would have been from Power too.
oh
So
yeah, I forgot about that. They did have a laundromat, but that didn't stick around as long as the club did. I feel like the laundromats only stuck around for maybe a season, if two. But
right.
overall, I was actually very pleased. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely uh worthy of me watching it a second or possibly even a third time, even before next week's episode comes on. I think I might watch it again and see if I can pick up on some points that I may have missed in my first run. But I'm really looking forward to what this has to offer, and I can't wait to hear what the rest of the crew thinks about it. But overall, I really enjoyed it.
I did too. I definitely enjoyed it. I was here for it. So I'm
So,
ready.
so now everyone out here, y'all can actually hear me say something nice about a power show. I ain't got a character that I'm running in the ground this season yet. So, I ain't called nobody a slut or whore or thought or a pussy
you
fairy.
and absolutely, and I, you know what, I listen.
I told you I
Kudos
was
for
gonna
that.
surprise you. I told you I was gonna
Kudos for
surprise you.
that. I was waiting. I was waiting for it. I said he gonna say something about. I thought you was gonna talk about Famous' sister. I said he about to say something about Famous' sister.
No, I wasn't gonna call her a thigh pocket.
Nope. Thigh pocket.
I told you I was gonna behave. I'm actually really enjoy. I like all the characters right now. I like every last one of them. All of them are very well introduced to us. So shout outs to Sasha Penn. I mean, great start. Great season. So let's just hope that y'all keep Courtney Kemp out of that writer's room and y'all give us a good season. And I'm here for it.
All right, me too. I'm here.
All right, so I guess we'll go ahead and wrap up this week's show. As always, our call to action. Y'all can follow us on our social media platforms. You can hit us up at info@tsfentertainment.com. YouTube page, TSF Entertainment, or the Soul Firm Music Group. You can find me on Instagram at RetroCG.
Oh, me? You can find me. You can find me on YouTube at ReallyBTV. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ReallyBTV_ on YouTube.
So shout outs to our missing host tonight, Mr. Juggernaut of Souls, Jack of Jordans. Shout out to Fresher Highness. So hopefully we'll get the whole family together before the season's over and cut up with y'all guys.
I gotta hear Fresher Highness. I definitely want to hear what he got to say about it.
I think he's going to enjoy this one.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all next week.
All right. Peace.
Later. Peace.
So if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app and go to Anchor FM to get started.
You are now listening to TSF Entertainment Podcast.